Good morning, good Erev Shabbos. It's Friday. I'm in a weird angle today. It's Friday, Erev Shabbos, Pashat Bereshis, and we're doing Perek today of Sheviis. Almost done with Sheviis, about halfway there. And by next Friday, we do all 6 days next week. We're going to be able to finish Sheviis on Friday next week. Mercy Hashem. Cruising our way through Seder Zeron. Okay, today's shir is sponsored Lila Nishmas Aaron Nachman Simcha Koyin, Shul Mordechai V'Shepsel Brach Sarba Shmuel Leib, Yom Moshe Ben Yosef, Ben Yoshemus Heaven Aliyah, and Nufush Them Ad Sarba Sleib Soshar Chole Yisrael. And here we go, Perek Dalid, Mishnah Aleph. Um, okay, so yesterday we were talking about removing stones from your field on Shemitah. And we said if it appeared like it was being prepared for planting, it was usher. If it was more for construction and the guy was a contractor or in the construction trade and he was not Maris Ayin and was mutter. Today we're going to continue that conversation. We'll talk about removing similar objects such as sticks and grasses. Um, so let's go. Mishnah Aleph. Rishona Hayomim Melaki Adam Eitz Vavan Vasab Bisoch Shalo Kederech Shehu Melaki Bitoch Shal Chavero. So originally the Chachamim would say that a person may gather sticks, stones, and grasses for a permitted purpose, like building a fire, um, animal food, construction, from his own field, and the way that he gathers these from another person's field. So if he could do it for someone else, he could do it for himself too. Um, as Hagas, he is therefore allowed to gather large ones, meaning sticks, from his own field, since he leaves the small ones. He will not be suspected of clearing the field. Misharabu over Yavera. However, when the number of transgressors and sinners increased, they started taking even small items from the field, but claimed that they only took the large ones. Hiskinu she haze them malakim toshel sorry. Hiskinu she haze them malakim toshel zem malakim toshel zeh. Then the Chachamim decreed that you can only collect items. You cannot collect anything except large items from the field of someone else. I mean, he has to collect from you. You have to collect from him. You cannot do for yours for your own and him for his own. Shalom b'tovat, and he may not be shown any appreciation by the owner for doing so. And it goes without saying that the owner may not provide him with food. Um, a field owner cannot ask someone to collect the wood and grass from his field in exchange for food. This is usher even if the gatherer will only take large items which would otherwise be allowed. Mishnah Beis, continuing. Sadesh in this kavsa, tizra b'motzi shvius. A field that was cleared of thorns on Shemitah may be planted after Sheviis, after Shemitah is over. Although it was forbidden to remove thorns from one's field on Shemitah, the Chacham did not penalize the one who did. Shenitaiva or shenidaira or sidra masishvias. However, a field that was improved, it was plowed well during Shemitah, or a field where animals were penned up. So that's where they left their droppings to fertilize the ground. May not be planted after Shemitah. In these two situations, the Chachamim did penalize the transgressor. And Sadash in Nitaiva, regarding a field that was improved in violation of Shemitah, Beis Shammai ain't ochlin peraseh b'shvius. The Beis Shammai says that we may not eat its produce on Shemitah. Beis Hillel omim ochlin. But Beis Hillel says you may eat its produce. Beis Hillel is of the opinion that doing that does not answer the food that the produce of Shemitah is not usher, even if it grew as a result of forbidden work. He, he argues with Beis Shammai, who says that if it was done illegally, then the produce cannot be eaten, and they interpret the psukim differently. Moving on, Beis Shammai Amim Ein Ochlin Perek Sheviis Pitova. Beis Shammai says that we may not eat the produce of Shemitah with any show of gratitude to the owner because the Shemitah produce is ownerless. You have no right to show the owner appreciation if it's not even his. It's hefker. Beis Hillel says that we may eat the Shemitah produce whether or not we show gratitude. It's okay to show gratitude. He's okay with that, Beis Hillel. Finally, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Chiluf Hadvarim. Rabbi Yehuda says that the opinions of Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel were reversed. According to Yehuda, it was Beis Shammai who permits expressing gratitude and Beis Hillel who forbade it. Zeb Zumi Kuli Beis Shammai Mechume Beis Hillel. This, according to Yehuda, was one of those rulings that where Beis Shammai was more makel than Beis Hillel. Usually it's the other way around. Usually Beis Shammai is more machmir. But according to Yehuda, then this was one place where Beis Shammai was more makel than Beis Hillel. Right. Mishnah Gimel. Chochrin nirin min ha'odek l'chavim b'shvius. We may make arrangements on Shemitah to lease plowed fields from idol worshippers after Shemitah. This is mutter, even though he thereby causes the idolater to plow the field on Shemitah, so they'll be ready to be sown and planted after Shemitah. Avalam Yisrael. So going back to the second, okay, Avalam Yisrael, but he cannot make a arrangement with a Jew who is suspected of violating the Shemitah laws because he might illegally plow the field on Shemitah. And we may give words of encouragement to idol worshippers who are working their own land in Israel on Shemitah, because we're trying to be mechazed them not to work it. Sorry, my bad. We can give them chizuk and say be successful and be strong, and you're doing it in such a great way because the idolaters are not obligated to keep the laws of Shemitah, so we may encourage them to work their fields, although we may not help them. But you cannot encourage a Jew who's doing so. In fact, you're supposed to give him musr to prevent them from breaking the halacha. The shalom b'shloman, and we may greet idolaters by saying shalom. This is one of the names of Hashem's, was the one of the names of Hashem, even on their pagan holidays. If darchi shalom, because these are permitted for acts of peace, the most peace between Jews and non-Jews, and a little bit of kindness goes a long way to keeping peace. We'll talk more about all that in Evesechas Avodah Zarah in about a year's time. Hamedo Mishtadal, Hamedo Bezeisim Beis Shammai Omim Yagum. If one thins out the olive trees in his orchard, meaning that he moves some trees to make the orchard less dense. So Bishama says he may cut down the trees to the ground, but he may not pull out the roots, because one who pulls out roots appears to be preparing the ground for planting. Beis Yisharish. Beis says that he may even uproot them. Since he is moving only a few trees, he does not seem to be preparing the ground for planting. Modim b'machlik ad shiyagam. However, Beis Hillel agreed that in the case of one who clears his orchard, he may not do so unless he cuts them down to the ground. He is forbidden to uproot them. And okay, so now what's the difference between thinning out and clearing? Ezehu Hamedo. What's considered thinning out? Echad or Shnayim. This is where one removes one or two trees from a group of three trees that are next to one another. Hamachlik. So what's clearing? Shlosha Zebetzadze. It is where one removes all of the three trees that are next to one another. What situation do these rulings apply? Where one uproots trees from his own field, for only then will he be suspected of clearing the ground for planting. But if one uproots trees from the field of another person, then even if he clears the orchard, he may uproot them because one would not be suspected of preparing someone else's field for planting. Okay, Mishnah Hey, Hamafkia Bezayis, Lo Yachpeu Be'afar. If one splits off branches from olive trees, he may not cover the cuts with dirt, because the dirt turns into mud, which improves the trees. But he may cover it with stones or straw, because stones and straw only prevent the tree from drying out, and do not improve it. Hakotzitz koros shikma lo yachpeh ba'afar. Similarly, if one cuts through the trunk of a sycamore tree that had been cut before, he may not cover the remaining stump with the dirt, because the dirt turns into mud, which improves the tree. We may cover it with stones or straw. This only prevents the tree from drying out and does not improve it. One may not cut through the trunk of a virgin sycamore tree on Shabbos, on Shemitah, if nay shehi avoda. This is forbidden labor. Cutting the trunk of a sycamore tree for the first time makes it grow back stronger and thicker than before. Therefore, doing so is asur on Shemitah. Rabbi Yehuda says, Kedarka asur, cutting a virgin sycamore tree in the normal way, I mean, making the cut within 10 12 above the ground, is asur, because this makes the tree grow back stronger and thicker. Ella Magbia Asartuach. Rather, one must raise the level of cut to a height of at least 10 Tuachim, or go in al Aretz, or cut the tree at the ground level, because cutting the tree at these levels does not improve it. Mishnah Vav. Mizanev HaMizanev B'Gefanim V'Akotis Kanim. If one trims grapevines or cuts reeds, Rabbi Yossi Lili says, Yarchik Tefach, he may distance the place of the cut at least of tefach from the trunk, and in the case of the grapevine, or from the ground in the case of reeds, that he does not appear to be cutting these plants for the purpose of improving them. Rabbi Akiva says, Kotzis Kedarko Bekardum of the Magal of the Megera of the Chol Mashi Yitzie. He may cut them in the normal manner, even within a tefach of the trunk of the ground, and he may do so with an axe, a sickle, a saw, or whatever tool he wants. Ilan shenifshach kosher or Sheviis, a branch of a tree that is cracked may be tied together on Shemitah, Loshi ala shel Yosef, not in a way that will make the parts grow together and heal, but in such a way that it will not split further. Mishnah Zion, Memasai Elchim Peres Elam Sheviis. From when maybe eat fruits of the tree on Shemitah? At what stage of ripeness do they become permissible? Hapagim Mishyazrichu Ochel Behem Pita Besada. In the case of unripe figs, once they turn red, one may eat them with his bread in the field because at this point they are edible enough to be eaten in the field. But one may not bring them into his house and eat them because they are not yet fully edible. The bichalu kones the so however, once they grow large, one may even bring them into his house, eat them because now they are fully edible. The kain kiyotivihem bishar shnei shavua chai b'maisos. And figs like these, figs that become large, are subject to meiser in the other years of the 7-year cycle. Haboy mishneches, haboser mishehevi mayim ochel bo pita b'sada. In the case of the unripe grapes, once they can produce juice upon being squeezed, one may eat them with his bread in the field, but he may not bring them into the house and eat them there. Hivish kones or something. So once they are the usha, meaning once they're at the stage which they can be eaten in the normal way, that's called the usha. When a grape when a grape reaches this level, its skin becomes transparent, and the seeds can be seen from the outside. Usha usually refers to grapes of inferior quality. It is used here to signify that grapes that are ripened to the point at which they would begin to deteriorate if left much longer on the vine. So anyway, so once they're be'usha, one may even bring them into his house and eat them. And grapes like these that are ripe are subject to meiser in the other years of the 7-year cycle. Zaysin, person to test. Zaysim Mishiach Nisu Revius the Sar Potsea Ocha Besada. In the case of olives, once they can yield a quarter lug of oil per saw, one may break them and eat them in the field. Hichnisu Chatzi lug Kotesh Misaf Besada. Later, when they can yield a half lug of oil per saw, one may crush them and apply their oil to one's body in the field. Hichnisu Shlish Kotesh Besada V'Kodesh Asabesa. Later still, when they have grown to a third of their full size, one may crush them in the field and bring them into his house, where he may eat them or apply their oil to his body. And olives like these, which have reached a third of their full size, are subject to meiser in the other years of the 7-year cycle. So the past two Mishnayos all taught that figs, grapes, and olives become permitted in more than one stage. All other fruits however, all have only one stage. The shar called the perus, ha'ilan, be'onosan, the meisus, kain, onosan, the Sheviis. Regarding all the other fruits of a tree, the stage in which they become subject to meiser is the stage in which they become permitted to be eaten on Shemitah. Only figs, grapes, and olives were permitted on Shemitah to some degree before the meiser stage, while others do not become permitted at all before that. And finally, Mishnah Yud, from when may we not cut down a fruit tree on Shemitah? Beis Shammai says, we may not cut down any fruit tree from the time that it brings forth its first leaves in the spring. Even at this early stage, the tree is treated as though it already bears fruit and it may not be cut down. But Beis Hillel says, carrot trees may not be cut down from the time that the carrots hang down because of their weight. Bakafanim mishi yigareu. Grapevines may not be cut down from the time that the seeds form inside the grapes. Zaysin mishiyanetsu. Olive trees may not be cut down from the time that they blossom. Shara called ila mishiyotzi, and any other type of tree that may not be cut down from the time that it begins to produce fruit. V'chol ha'ilan kivan sheba onos hamaisus mutter lechotuso. But once the fruit of any tree reaches the meiser stage, it may be cut down. At this point, when the fruits are already ripe and no longer need the tree, cutting down the tree does not destroy them and is therefore permitted. Below Yiksenu. How many olives must there be on an olive tree for one to be prohibited to cut it down? I mean, how many olives does it produce? Rova, a quarter of a kava of olives. Shimon says, Hakol lefi hazais. There is no set amount, rather, it all depends on the olive tree, on a case by case basis. That is the end of Perek Daled. Mr. Shem will see you on Sunday morning for Perek Hay. Have a wonderful Shabbos.